Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
This is really interesting to me, you guys, because I don't know you.
Right.
But I know who you are, but I don't.
I know. We've never had a conversation.
Never. This is the first time that we've actually spoken to each other. And so for what we're doing here, for a time like this little series that we're doing, to begin that, I would like you guys to talk to me about who you are a bit. And give me all the deets. Some of them I will know, but just talk to me. I would say talk to me as if we've never conversed before, but that would be right.
That's accurate.
So let's just get right down to that. Who are you guys?
Yeah. So Jeff and I are wedding photographers. We live in San Diego, California, and we started shooting weddings together around the time that we got married, which was back in 2006.
So 14 years ago.
Yeah, 14 years. And we traveled the world photographing weddings for a long time and had a great time doing it. And in 2012, around that time, we decided that we wanted to build something bigger. So we wanted to start trying to have a family, and we were thinking down the road, and we're like, okay, at some point, photographing weddings and having a family is not going to mesh real well when our kids get to school age, and we want to have our summers and weekends available.
Soccer practice, Little League, all those things started becoming in our radar, and they never really were before.
Yeah, right.
So we decided to launch a separate associate wedding photography brand, and it's called Clove and Kin. It's clove like spice and kin like family. And at the same time, a friend approached us and said, hey, I have this commercial photography studio that I want to sell. Would you guys want to buy it? And we were like,
why not? We're already being crazy people. Let's just be more crazy. Let's do two new studios in 1 year. Why not? Sounds good. This was pre-kids. That's the thing.
Yes. Yes. So we, so very quickly we go from just the two of us working out of our spare bedroom with our cat to having a team and a studio and a staff and 3 brands. So our brand, the Youngrens, Clove and Kin, and then our commercial brand, which is called Bomb and Photographers. We kept the name when we bought the business.
Right.
And that's what we do today. We've grown everything dramatically since then. And today we have a massive 4,000 square foot studio here in San Diego. And we run our brands, and then we also educate other photographers. So that's something we've been doing as well, alongside all of these brands. And so I have a podcast. It's called Creative Rising.
Right.
And I love it. And we have courses and online products, and we support photographers as well. So that's a little bit about us.
And we have a little boy named James who is turning 2 shortly here.
Yeah, in just a couple weeks.
And he has definitely reframed a lot of our entrepreneurial bent in those 2 years of knowing what our capacity actually is.
What is James doing right now?
He's sleeping.
He's napping.
He's
asleep.
We have
our monitor sitting right there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I remember the days of naps.
It's fabulous. It is fabulous. And I hope they never end, even though I know they will.
Yeah.
But yeah.
There he is. Sound asleep.
Oh my God. That's so great. First baby guest on the program.
That's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yeah.
I guess he's 2 though, right? That's not.
Yeah.
He's not an infant. He's
still our baby.
We did a morning show for I think we did it every day for a month. Last year when he was how old was he? 7 months or 8 months or something. He was really little, and he would sit on our lap the entire time. And now
and just sit there during the show.
He would just sit and play with things and whatever. And he was, it was adorable. That's why people watch. We went live on Instagram every day.
Yeah.
And that's why people watched. They just wanted to see James. And then when he got to the point where he wouldn't sit on our laps anymore, people stopped watching.
And the daily lives stopped because it was craziness in our house at that time. He's like, pancakes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's us.
Well, you were saying, so Southern California wedding photographers, I'm just going back in my mind, Southern California wedding photographers in 2006 is when you started. Now those were the days in my mind of a bajillion fancy, famous Southern California wedding photographers, right?
Yep.
Oh, when we started, there were all these rock star photographers that we looked up to at the time.
Yeah, and they were really fancy, and they wore all the fancy clothes, and they had the haircuts and the glasses, and they did like the tours.
And the cars.
Yes, right? So you guys saw all that, and you were like, oh, we want to do that.
I think we were actually coming up right at that same time where like all what you're describing was kind of rising up alongside us, and we kept looking around being like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And
you'd go to WPPI and there'd be like a mist of these people as they floated through the trade shows, and you would watch other people watching them, and it was like a thing.
It was
right?
crazy. Mm-hmm. Like it was essentially like you'd expect to see like someone passing out like glossy 8x10s, signing them.
Yes.
And like getting autographs or something.
It was like that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because the very first talk we did was at Pictage's PartnerCon. This was probably it was early on.
I remember that.
Yep.
And the title of the talk was "Keeping It Real in a Rockstar World." So it was all about like running an authentic business.
See, you were addressing it. You were addressing the craziness that was back then. Now, okay, so that's an unintended segue. It was really unintended because I didn't know that. To the craziness today. So let's skip forward from the craziness of those days to what in the world is going on right now. What does it look like for you guys right now? Especially with your bajillion businesses and 100,000 employees and everything else that you have going on. What are you doing right now?
Yeah. So it's been crazy, just like it has been for everybody. So we moved into our new big studio space beginning of last year. And that really injected a lot of momentum into our commercial business, which was awesome. Before that, we were in this, amazing, beautiful loft, but our shooting space was the size of a guest bedroom, not anything that we could work with. So we finally found this amazing space, spent the whole year building it out, and it's just been this incredible experience. And this year we have like some really, really crazy, insane goals for 2020. We're turning the corner. New Year's, from Christmas and New Year's, we're having our like annual meetings with our staff. We're setting our goals for the year. We set our goals for the first quarter, and we are just driving after everything.
2020
hard.
Was the exciting year for everybody, if I remember correctly. It seems like it was a decade ago, but that was like 2020's the year.
That's exactly what we were feeling. And literally we were coming off of 2019, which was our best year ever. Whichever way you want to slice it, we can count it our best year ever by a long shot. And so we're like, this is going great. All the momentum. The team is rallying. We took the team on a retreat to the beach for a few days just to do our goal setting. And it was just, we were ready. That was January.
The beach is not that far away. We're in San Diego.
That's true. But we did have an oceanfront.
Yeah, to me, it's like this mythical place. Oh, the beach. Yeah. And you got to walk outside and go to it. That makes sense.
That's true. It's true.
Still, though, that's awesome. You guys all went to the beach. Everything's flowing.
Yeah. So
big goals, big agenda.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
we are so excited. And Jeff and I went on a 2-week vacation to Kauai. Mm-hmm. And this was in March, end of February, first week of March. Mm-hmm. And we unplugged, had a great time. It was the best part about it, though, vacation that we have gone on in a very long time.
James was there.
James was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
James was there. Sorry to talk over you. But the best part about it was we spent from that goal setting time to the vacation telling our team, hey, we're going to go to Hawaii. We're going to unplug. We're not going to be reachable. We're going to turn off our phones. We're not going to get email. We're not going to get anything. So
we're not taking our laptops.
Yeah. So if you need us, it's going to be an emergency. We're going to unplug. And so we go to Kauai and we unplug. And it's literally not until 2 days before we're getting on the plane to come back that I finally open up news for the first time.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. And this was the day that LA declares a state of emergency. I'm like, Erin, there's something going on right now.
We're about to board a plane to go through LAX.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, this all of a sudden is getting out of hand. And so basically we land and we get home, and it was like everything the dominoes started happening here in California. Within a week, we had our team working remotely. By the end of that week, that shelter in place was ordered in California. And then events after event after event on our commercial side postpones, cancels, shuts down. And so it's like one thing after the other. We just watch our business come to this crazy halt.
Screeching halt.
And it felt like, and I'm going to be really honest here, like it felt like, I mean, it hurt. Like we felt like we ran full speed into a brick wall. And there was
especially
no warning,
coming off of,
nothing.
yeah, because for you guys to be like your mindset, you had gotten to this like place of Zen and nirvana and like unplugged the way that you did.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then to find that out and come home to this madness. I mean, you really did hit a wall, and you hit it. Hit it going really, really fast too.
Yeah. Wind knocked out from underneath you.
Yeah. So we're reeling. We're like, what are we going to do? Our revenue, the faucet of our revenue just turned off. We only have so much time until the bathtub just completely empties of all of our cash flow.
Yeah.
And are we going to be able to pay our people? Are we going to be able to pay our rent on this massive commercial studio?
Right.
Are we going to be able to take care of the people that are renting offices from us? Are we, the question after question after question, right? That every single photographer has been asking themselves over the last,
what am I going to do?
4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
And so the first couple weeks were really, really hard. After that shelter in place was ordered and, our revenue stops and we can't have any events or any things or book any shoots or make any revenue over the next however long. I know for me, I got really, really angry. Like I was like, we were rocking and rolling. Are you kidding me? And I got really angry about it all because I was just upset that like, why is this happening? Why does this have to happen to me? After everything we've been through with building this business, because building this thing has not been an easy journey. Getting to where we are, there's been a lot of really difficult periods. And so to finally come to a place where we feel like the vision that we have for this business is coming alive, and then it feels like it is just slapped away from us. I got super angry about that.
All right. Let me pry a little bit. Can I pry?
Yeah,
I'm going to pry.
Of course.
We're open books.
We are open books.
Okay. You might regret that.
Should I pour some whiskey right now, or what?
Where's my wine?
Oh, I wish we could. Oh man, who am I kidding? We could. You get really, really angry. I think that feeling resonates with a lot of people. Resonates with me. You're really, really angry about, and this isn't about something insignificant. Because I don't know about you guys, I can get really, really angry at really stupid things and then feel ashamed or stupid or silly later on for being like, that was no big deal, right?
Yeah.
Can't say that about this. You can't even later on say, oh, that was no big deal. Like we're saying this is a big deal, right? You're really, really angry about something significant. Who are you angry at? And I'm not, okay, so that's somewhat rhetorical because really what I'm wanting to know is when you're that angry about something like that, what can you or did you do with the anger when you don't really have someone or something specific? I mean, we're talking about a virus. You can get really, really angry at a virus. What's the virus going to do? Nothing. It's not even a thing to be angry at, and yet you were really. So go with that a little bit. I'm not going to say anything. I've already talked too much anyway. You talk a little bit about. Try to address my question.
Yeah. So it's the anger is just anger at the circumstances. It's anger at the world. And that comes out in all kinds of crazy ways, right? Like all of us have experienced that where we are angry about something and there is this reaction that we're having to our circumstances. And I'm taking it out on Jeff, I'm taking it out on our staff. I'm not being a very good mother. I'm impatient. And for me, my personality, when I get angry and when I get stressed, I shut down. And so
you go that
for
way.
Me, I just want to bury my head in the sand and not deal with it. I want to go watch Netflix. Like that's what I want to do. And I just want to say it'll pass. It'll be fine. And that's what I did mentally, emotionally, was I just kind of went internal and I shut down. And I don't know for you if that was the same experience for you, but our personalities are very different. So we handle things very differently.
Yeah. I think I didn't go to anger. I went to anxiety. I just went to anxiousness. My role in the business is really like CEO, the business side of it, the business development, all that. And so as soon as this started happening, I knew exactly what our cash flow was doing. I knew exactly what our cash reserves were capable of. Like I just knew it. And immediately mind starts spinning of how much runway this is and what's going to happen. And I got incredibly anxious right away. And the source of the anxiety for me was 98% of it was our staff, because I was immediately feeling like I was going to let everybody down if this thing didn't turn around before we had to push pause on things, before we had to lay people off, or we had to make cutbacks or things like that. I was just worried that I was going to let people down.
Because you have a sense at how much gas is in your tank, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned a runway, but so to continue with that analogy, to me, it seems like you knew how much gas was in your tank, but you didn't know how long the runway was or how much you actually had. And that's really the issue that we're all still in to some degree, is that the problem is we don't know.
Yeah.
Right? And so for me, I feel like there's anger and there's anxiety. Don't you think the core of both of those to some degree is the fear, and the fear's there because of the unknown?
100%. Absolutely.
I got
absolutely.
it right.
I mean, it's, there's absolutely nothing that we could control about it.
Right.
Well, let me rephrase that. It feels like there's absolutely nothing that we can control about it. And yes, there is a lot that is outside of our control, but it's like that saying, like, grant me the wisdom to know what I can control and what I can't.
Oh, right.
And I think this is a prime example of one of those situations where what we can control is our reaction, our mindset, and how we handle it. And we can create our reality, right? Our circumstances are circumstances. Do we want to be sitting here at home 24/7? No, we don't. But that is our circumstances. But our current reality within this home is something we can create. And so our current reality is what we're making up about our circumstances. And what we were making up about our circumstances was that we were out of control. There's nothing we could do. And that we were victims of COVID, of what's going on. Both of us were stuck in a victim mindset, which is it's a big conversation. It's a big conversation, but it's like, that is a completely rational place to go. Yeah. Like,
yeah, especially initially, right?
Initially, like, it's a huge, nobody has been through this before, at least that I know of. People have not, this is not something that has occurred often enough for people to have experienced this before.
Yeah, there's not really like a playbook. We can't really say like, let's go to page 72 and see exactly what it is we're supposed to be doing now, because it's also, we're also like still in the middle of this, we're talking about something that's happening right now. This isn't retrospective yet. So even the first few weeks, and now it's like, for us, it's like week 4 or something. I don't remember. I think it's week 4, but it's even different now than what it was 2 weeks ago. Like we've moved along in this phase, and now we're into like almost another phase. What's this phase look like, after the initial anxiety and the anger, and then you even start dealing with that. And now let's say we're in phase 3, right? Like even past the initial actions that you were doing to the initial actions, like you were angry and anxious, and then you started doing things and pulling yourself out of that. But now what's happening now? Where are we going now with things?
Yeah. So what I had to do in that situation was that I needed to, thankfully I could draw upon some lessons that I had learned not too long ago. So with Jeff and I mentioned we tried to start having a family back when we bought our commercial business and launched our associate brand in 2012. Well, that journey was actually a 5-year journey to have our son, James. And so we went through a pretty, painful and grief-stricken journey of having him. We went through several miscarriages. At one point we were told that we weren't going to be able to get pregnant on our own. And so that was a period where I experienced the same kind of anger. I'm angry at my circumstances. Why is this happening to me? And I experienced a lot of victim mindset throughout that. And during that journey, we got a life coach. I went through a lot of mentorship, and I went through a lot of self-work that opened my eyes to how much of a victim I was being in my own life. And so those lessons kind of came front and center for me when this whole COVID thing started happening. And I was just like, okay, I could either choose, like what I can control is my choice in this. So I can either choose to continue to be angry and continue to shut down and be mad, which is what I want to do because that feels great right now. I can choose to do that, but I'm going to create, pardon the expression, but I'm going to create a living hell for myself. Like this is going to be a horrible, horrible experience. And who knows how long it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be 6 months?
Right.
I can choose to do that, or I can choose to learn what I can learn because of this situation. I can choose to get as much as I can out of this because I can't change it. It's going to happen. So I may as well make the best of it. Right. So I remember that during our infertility journey to have our son, James, that was where I experienced the most growth that I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
And I learned the most beautiful lessons I've ever learned. Mm-hmm. But it's only because I was willing to dig into the painful side of things and deal with it head on.
Kept going.
And it kept going.
Well, here's the thing. You brought up the living hell piece, and that a lot of what you're saying resonates with me, and here's why. When you're going through hell, if you stop, you're going to stay there.
Yes.
In hell. I think it's Winston Churchill's quote that says, when you're going through hell, keep going. You gotta keep going. And all the issues that you've had with babies and stuff, I know exactly what that's like. And you can, the victim mentality is there and it's kind of waiting for us at any point in time, right?
Yes. Absolutely.
And it doesn't mean that you're not a victim. It doesn't mean that.
Right.
But to stay there and stay in that mindset that's what hell is. When you're there and you stay there, you got to keep going. So you chose to apparently recently you've chosen to keep going just like you did then, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what does that look like?
So do you want to go?
For us, that means that we went from a place of just kind of being angry and anxious to understanding, we have an opportunity to just show up differently with our customers. We have an opportunity to figure out what does it look like for us on the other side of this. And so we moved into a place of okay, when the doors are going to open back up at some point. So how do we make sure that we're as prepared as possible when that happens?
Getting prepared.
And so we just get down into the practicals of that. And that didn't mean for us saying, oh, there's all these back burner projects. Let's just finally do them. Let's finally wallpaper the bathroom. That wasn't it. It was there's going to be a new reality happening when this opens up. How can we be best equipped to hit the ground running when that happens? So we could have either sat and just hung out and watched Netflix and slept in every day, or we can think about how we're going to be prepared when we get on the other side of this. So that's where we have kind of gone to. And then just understanding that this has the opportunity to shape us and change us.
Are you doing a little bit of
that can be good?
Are you doing a little bit of both though? Are you kind of sleeping in a little bit longer and watching a little bit of Netflix?
Honestly, no.
You're up at 6 in the morning, aren't you? You're up at 6.
We're up at 5.
You're up at 5.
Yeah.
You guys are the type of people that aren't doing the bathroom projects because you also do the bathroom projects on a regular basis.
Well,
we already finished our bathrooms over Christmas.
We did finish the bathrooms at Christmas. But
oh man,
we are. It's funny because we'll get on. We have our small group weekly Zoom, and we'll get on, and everybody's talking about what's going on, and sleeping in and stuff, and we're literally working longer than we were before this happened, and
I
believe you. I believe you.
What it is, and
Yes. So here's the thing. So because there's some things that I want to say about that. We
go.
And go. So what I decided when I was like, I'm going to change this, I'm going to choose to show up differently, is that we turned the corner on this year, knowing and believing that 2020 was going to be our year. And then COVID hits, right? And no one sees that coming. And it's like, okay, wow, 2020 is not going to be my year. Great. Or what if 2020 still is our year? What if we still hit those goals? And what if we still made the money that we wanted to make, even with COVID? And as soon as that thought entered my mind, I was like, holy crap, that means that I need to step it up. But it was really exciting for me because I was like, if that happened, do you know how cool that would be? Do you know how amazing that would be? Do you know how much it would just change everything if we could look at the end of this year and say, I cannot believe we did that even with COVID. And so that really motivated me to say, during this time, I can learn how to run my business way better than I could any other season. What can I learn during this season that I couldn't possibly ever learn during any other season? This is so unique. There are so many things that we can learn right now because of these challenges. Now, does it suck at times? Yes, absolutely. Do I love this reality? Absolutely not. But it's here and I'm going to lean into it. Now, I mean, here's the truth. Like we had to furlough our staff and our staff was incredibly supportive about it. Yeah. No one has lost their jobs, but we have had to stop paying them for a time.
Right.
And that was like the worst day in our business. Yeah. Like I still can, like, it was so hard having to tell them that, like, feeling like we let them down, even though we didn't, you know. That's been incredibly difficult, but it's also been incredibly motivating to say, we are going to keep this business alive so that our staff has a business to come back to. And, you know, we're thankful for things like PPP. We've applied for it. We're excited about those funds, and we're super thankful that we might be able to pay our people. If we get the funds, they are going to get paid.
Of course.
And we're so excited about that. But in the meantime, it's the two of us, and then we've kept on our main person. Her name is Kelsey. She's our operations girl. She's our operations person. And so there's the three of us, and we are just spending every single day working as hard as we can to get this business to a place where these people are going to come back and we're going to kill it, and we're going to make this year the year we want it to be.
Now, that leads me to what I was thinking about asking you, is that I was going to say, why, you know, what motivates you, or what is it that spurs you on, and your staff? That makes a lot of sense to me, that they would be a big source of motivation, right? Yeah. And yet, and here's a question that I ask people all the time, when they choose to have a positive attitude, when they choose to keep going and not stay in that victim mindset, right? Why are you like that? I asked now because, you know, I talked to a lot of people, and a lot of people, you know, people that choose to see the glass half full, right? That choose to make the lemonade from the lemons, right? You're not the only ones. I'm not the only one we're not the only ones that do that. A lot of people choose to do that. A lot of people don't. A lot of people do. What is it behind that for you guys that makes you that way? Why are you like that? I don't know you guys. Why are you like that?
I mean, I think for me, like, intrinsic to my personality is a very positive nature. I've always been a very positive person, but I don't think that's the answer.
Well, I believe that you always have been.
Yeah.
Why?
But I think, I think I always have been, but I think it's shifted in the past few years for me, to go from just being a positive person, which is like, oh, this is great. We're watching this thing. This is fun. We're at this concert, like, always happy. Right. That's positivity. Right. But choosing to be optimistic or choosing to be positive in a negative situation, that's new.
Different. Yeah.
That's different. And that has occurred for me since, when did we start working with Julia?
2016.
Yeah, so we hired a coach in 2016.
I know your coach.
Someone come alongside. What's that?
I know your coach.
Julia was.
Well, she's also from the Midwest.
She's from the Midwest, Illinois.
She's from 10 miles away from where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah.
So that's when that happened?
Well, that's, having someone come alongside you and just really make you very aware of your victim mindset and how that's affecting me, and how that affected me, and how it was causing me to show up differently, how I was unaware of how much it was affecting, and being aware that it is absolutely a choice.
So here's, a little backstory that might help is that
talk about it.
So in our fertility journey, we, towards the end of 2015, we're told that we're probably not going to get pregnant on our own. We'll have to do IVF or we'll have to adopt. And it's devastating for both of us. And so that was the lowest point of the journey. And so we had a decision to make. Are we going to adopt or are we going to do IVF? And we start looking at the circumstances. We start looking at our finances. But what happens is that this business that we bought, this commercial business, is not doing as well as we had hoped. And we're thinking it's going to, by that time, we had thought it was going to be going gangbusters.
Right.
It was not.
Yeah.
No, it was not by any means. And so there was a lot in the business we had to fix. There was a lot that was broken that we were unaware of. And I could also blame circumstances for that, but
sure,
it just is what it is. But we had to make some payments for the business, and those payments equaled the same amount as what it was going to cost to do IVF. And that was another trigger for anger for me of what the hell? This is, I cannot believe that this business we bought that was supposed to support our family is now taking the dream of our family away from us. And so going into 2016, that's where we're at. And that was when we just, divine intervention, happened to meet Julia for the first time, our coach. And I ended up coaching with her. And it was the most powerful journey where she just called me out on all of it. Yeah. She just called me out on my bull. She's like, Erin, this is BS. You've got to think differently. You are choosing this.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of unforgiveness in my life. There was a lot of stuff I had to deal with, so there was a lot that went into it. And I think there's so much mindfulness and self-work that goes into that process. I have not always been like this. It's because of that journey that I have life experience now that helps me understand I'm going to make it through this.
You did the work. That's the thing.
I did the work.
You did the work. That's you have to go talk about going through it, right? You said you can't stay in hell. You got to go through it.
Keep going.
You went through it.
Yeah.
There was times when you first, because Erin did coaching one-on-one with Julia first. And there was times that I was like, how was it? And you're like, I can't talk about it right now. And it would be that way for a week. Yeah. And I'm like, I guess it's fine.
Yeah, I understand. I totally understand.
But going through it, you change, you're a transformed person. And then that's why I think you have this outlook now. It's a really, really good way of explaining it, Erin. Yeah.
And I think, so if anyone knows the Enneagram out there, I'm an Enneagram 5. Jeff is a 7. So if that means anything to you, you know that an Enneagram 5 is not an optimistic personality, usually. We are not very future oriented. We are not doers. All of this is not my wiring. So I know for me, sometimes I can look at other people and I can say, well, it's easy for them. That's just how they're wired.
Right.
They just have this natural capability. For me, it's more difficult. For me, it's more difficult. I have to overcome a lot of my own wiring in order to step into a place that that looks forward to the future, that steps, out of my own victimhood and my own BS. And so I just want to say that to those out there that might be thinking oh, well, she's always been that way.
Right.
Heck no. I am a 5 through and through. I'm introverted. I'm incredibly internal. I'm all in my head. I love information. I am a textbook 5. So just throwing that out there.
You're saying that anyone can do this to some degree, because if I can, then it's possible for others who are also wired this way, because you even said it at the beginning, your instinct initially was to hide or go away or shut down, you said, right?
Yes.
That's where you went.
Yes.
Right? It's kind of the fight or flight. Yours is flight.
you're like, forget this. I'm out.
Absolutely. You'd think the anger would be a fighting, but no, it's not. I get angry and I shut down. I want to stick my head in the sand and I want to ignore it all.
Yep. Yeah. I get it. Well, we're still in the middle of this, but you're not shutting down. You've chosen to keep going.
Yes.
Do this here in closing. Where can people go to find more about who you guys are and what you do and all the stuff that you were mentioning at the beginning?
Yeah. So I think the best place is our podcast, Creative Rising. You can find it in anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. And the last episode, we're going to be launching season 4 here in the next couple of weeks. At the end of April, I should say. I don't know when this is going live, but at the end of April, we're launching season 4. The last episode of season 3 was when all of this was happening. And so I actually, when I was at the bottom of that whole internal chaos of this COVID thing, like literally it was the day that we had to tell our employees that we needed to furlough them for a little while. I sat down on my bedroom floor and I found an extra microphone sitting around our house and I recorded an episode. And so you can listen to this whole journey there.
It's really raw.
It's very raw because it's very in the moment. But that podcast, it's a behind the scenes podcast. I do a lot of trainings for wedding photographers, but there's a lot of behind the scenes episodes where I record what's happening in our studio. And so some of my favorite people have been on this podcast. Julia has been on it in season 1. Our friend Dane Sanders did an episode. We did an episode on failure in season 2.
Oh man, that was funny when we called up Dane. We're like, hey, we're doing an episode on failure and we'd love to feature you.
What do you think?
He was like, you're lucky we've been friends for a while because I could take that real wrong.
I was like, yeah, I didn't know how to ask, but I just had to say
but
it.
I think the failure episode is probably one of my very favorite episodes.
I love it. And
he's great and he's always great, but he's also the guy that gets up and talks about failure. He's put himself into a position where we've heard Dane talk about failure.
He was asking for it.
Yeah, he asked for it.
You didn't just randomly, let's see, failure. Who could we talk about for failure? I get it.
Yeah. But the podcast is a great place for people to kind of get intro to us and kind of hear our hearts. You know, our big desire. We've been helped by so many people over the 14 years we've been shooting, and the most helpful people are the people that have been real with us. And so creating a podcast that isn't meant to sugarcoat anything.
I like it.
I
also like things that are sugar-coated, but it's cool that you do a podcast that doesn't have any sugar-coating. I like it.
Donuts sound really good right now. Speaking of sugar-coating.
You need to stop. I'm supposed to be losing weight right now. I'm trying.
Do we have a little more time?
We have as much time as you want.
You're asking, like, we're in the middle of this and we want to move forward. And so what does that look like? So we've been talking about everything up until this point, right?
Okay.
We've been doing it. I think for me, I have no idea what the rest of this is going to look like. We have no idea how long it's going to last, right? We're leaning in and we're doing those projects that will help us with the future health of our business. We've been supporting our photographer community heavily, giving them resources and helping people out with what they need during this time as much as we possibly can. But I will say that moving forward, I think what has been super helpful for me, and I think what would be helpful for everyone else, is how this time is magnifying my habits. Like, it's magnifying how I daily interact with my work, because my work is not normal right now, right? Our client work is gone. And so we have to figure out a new reality for how we work. And so it's shown a spotlight on all the habits that I have been doing up until now that are definitely serving me during this time. But it's also magnified all of these bad habits that I've had that are not serving me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, right?
I don't have any of those, but it's cool she's working on them.
I'm finally working on my stuff.
That's weird.
So those bad habits, like in the past, have just been kind of dead weight, but not that big of a deal, right? Now it's like they're literally pulling me down.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy how this time has done that. And so it's been great to finally address those things. So, like, at night, do I really need 3 glasses of wine before I go to bed?
Answer is 4.
No, you don't
4.
need 3. You need 4, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right, Jed.
So things like that, where it's like, am I going to bed on time when I need to be going to bed?
Mm-hmm.
What does my morning routine look like? Am I fueling myself first before I get my work done? And the answer for a lot of that stuff was no. And so those are things that I'm heavily working on and challenging myself at right now. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but that's been a huge source of motivation.
Well, it's easy to dismiss those things too, right? It's easy to be like, I'm an adult. I don't need to go to bed at a certain time. Well, yeah.
I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
That's like the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm an Enneagram 1. And so the first thing that comes to my mind is like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm 45 years old. If I want to go to bed at 3 a.m, I can do that. Well, yes, I can, but not without consequences.
Right.
So we're talking about something on the surface that I think is easy to dismiss. And you can apply that to all that stuff you were talking about. How many glasses of wine? When do I wake up? When do I go to bed? It seems ridiculous maybe on the surface, but it is not. And if you haven't discovered the consequences, you will. You will. If you keep going that way, you'll find out, right? So I think it's important to bring that stuff up. And it's also important to address the fact that it's easy to say they're not a big deal, when in fact they are, because there's all kinds of things lying underneath the surface of that too, right?
And I think thinking about it on the flip side, consequences, yes, that's a huge motivator for me for sure.
Yeah.
But thinking on the flip side, like, who could you be? Like, what could be different? If you could wave a magic wand over your life right now, what would you want it to look like? Obviously, no quarantine. That's
Thing one.
Yes. Right. But in this context right now, if you could wave a magic wand over things, what would it look like? Yeah. And understanding you have permission to do those things. Like you have permission to take control of the things you can take control of. And right now it feels so much harder to give ourselves permission because we don't have our normal childcare. So our schedules, there's a lot more restrictions and boundaries around our schedules right now.
Right.
But within that, what can I give my permission? How can I give myself permission to fuel myself and to show up how I want to show up? And so for me, the motivation is at the end of all this period, how can I be different? What do I want to be? And what does that mean for how I need to show up today?
I love it. Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
This was good. We're going to have to do this again.
This was great.
For regular podcasts and not for series that pop up because of pandemics.
Yeah, let's do it after the pandemic for sure.
Well, we had talked about doing it, like doing podcasts together before, and you guys were on my list, and I have the emails and everything from way back when, and so we're still going to need to do that when we can talk about stuff other than things directly related to worldwide viral pandemics.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, we just love what you're doing with the podcast, and it's
I
great
appreciate
to
it
here and good to chat with you in real life.
Yes.
Crazy that we haven't. This is crazy. It's the first time. That's the crazy part.
It is. This is nuts. I wasn't entirely sure what you guys looked like until I saw you on the interwebs. I was like, oh yeah, that's them. I've seen them before. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day and enjoy your sweet baby James.
We will. Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right there. It's there somewhere.